Hi, this is Ted, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some Today I'm going to be talking to you about some comments that I get. A couple of them are real popular, and one is not really popular, but I like these types. I had somebody who kind of tried to correct me this morning, and I like those when they have some substance to it, or when I'm learning something from them that would help me to improve what I'm doing. Now that I've set that up. Okay, first of all, I think I was talking about the Pollyanna principle in one of my videos. The Pollyanna principle is basically that it is better to, if you really want people to connect with your prophecy, and I'm not saying that you should do this, but this is something that a lot of scam artists do. They focus on the positive. Bring out something positive. Don't say negative things, all right? Now, when I say something like that, I want to establish this up front. I'm talking about generalizations. Most scam artists will not use negatives because they don't work well. All right, so I'm talking about generalization. There are going to be exceptions to the rules. Now, this one particular person suggested and wrote and said, Ken Hagin prophesied to two different people that two different people that they were going to die. Both those people died. I knew about one of them, and that was William Branham. The other one she said was Jack Coe. I didn't know about that one, but it's very, very possible. I think he was given, at least William Branham was given like 5 years or something to straighten out his teaching, or else God is going to punish him and kill him, and he did not straighten out his teaching. All right, so I'm well aware of those things, and I'm going to talk about Ken Hagin in a few minutes, but first, before I get into that, I do want to establish, okay, from the beginning, I don't want to say in every video that I believe in prophecy. I believe it is a gift. I believe it is a gift that continues. And I believe that God still does signs and wonders and miracles. I believe in those things. But what I am seeing today coming out of the prophetic movement and most of the charismatic movement, I do not consider legitimate. I like to compare everything to what the Bible says and how things happen in the Bible, compare that with today. And then I like to compare it with other things, such as in the area of healing, I compare it with the placebo effect. And I find that the type of healing you're seeing in stages nowadays and from a lot of churches, what you're seeing most, not all, please don't put me under that all category, but what I'm seeing in most of these cases is that the placebo effect is a much better match for what you're seeing. Now, most people don't understand much about the placebo effect, so that's your challenge. You can look at past videos of mine, but I would even challenge you to go further and read about placebo effects and find out their territory, what they can do, what they can't do. There's limitations. As there are limitations to the types of diseases you will see healed in these big healing events. All right, I've talked about that a lot in the past. I might revisit that in the future as well, especially if you guys, some of you new followers, have not heard what I've had to say about that, comparing them. It could be very enlightening and very, very interesting, because there are special things that really seem to be happening in these crusades, far more than a lot of people would like to realize. But what I'm trying to say is those special things usually, almost always, line up with the placebo effect. All right, if the prophetic movement were alive and was a solid something from God, we would expect, first of all, President Trump would still be president of the United States. We would be in the middle of a tremendous revival, one so powerful that Christians would live to 140, 150 years old. Christians, and I don't mean just Christians, people who follow the apostles and the prophets, set up by the New Apostolic Reformation, set up by this prophetic movement. All right, we would see those people bringing billions to Christ, not millions, not thousands, but billions. We'd be seeing them slain all over the place in the Spirit. We would see people being raised from the dead. You wouldn't just hear stories of it. You would see it. They'd show it on TV. Some president dies, and some Christian comes up and lays hands on him on national TV, and the president revives. Ho, ho, ho. It's a miracle that only God could do. All right, we would be seeing that kind of stuff if the prophetic movement were real, if they weren't scamming us unknowingly to them. I don't think they really understand what they're up to. I don't think they realize what they're doing. We would see raising dead. We would see God's wrath on bad people, people who disagree with them, people who try to point out that they're only using the placebo effect. We would see God's wrath fall upon all of them. And we would see Christians protected from bullets, protected from nuclear weapons. They could walk right through the middle of them without any kind of damage or hurt to themselves, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the lion's den. No, they were in the fire, in the furnace. Got to get my story straight. Really, the prophets in the prophetic movement, they don't look like the prophets in the scriptures. They look far more like the prophets of Baal, who in their groupthink, and groupthink means that you all agree with the same thing. In their groupthink, they are all saying, oh, yes, 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 yes to the king, not realizing that they are off. All right. Kenneth Hagin, I gotta bring him up because I mentioned him before. There's several possibilities for him and for how he gets to prophecies right. First of all, he could be like the monkey throwing the dart. Eventually, it's going to hit the bullseye. All right? I don't know enough about his prophesying, and I'm not going to get into it for quite a while, I don't think so, to be able to establish that everything he ever said came to pass. I'm highly doubting it, but I'm just going to right now, because I haven't studied, I haven't looked at it, I will plead ignorance. But it could be in these two cases, the monkey throwing the dart. Could be hindsight bias. I've talked about that before. What is hindsight bias? It means this comes not only from Kenneth, the prophesier, and it comes also from the fans, even more from the fans. And what hindsight bias is, you pick and choose. And for some reason, you remember the ones that were successful, and you tend to forget everything that wasn't successful, or it just gets glossed over. And this is a common human behavior for people who predict the future. And I believe it's common also among the prophetic movement, because I keep on hearing people saying, I'm really accurate. Okay, I think you got hindsight bias. And you'll definitely hear fans saying, so-and-so is accurate. Finally, it's also possible that Deuteronomy 13 talks about God is sending prophets, false prophets, to Israel to test them. See, he says, if you hear somebody and they predict the future perfectly, and they teach you to serve other gods, I'm testing you. Get away from that person. Kenneth Hagin may have gotten a couple right. Maybe he got everything right. That does not mean, even if he did get everything right, that does not mean you go following after him. because he is following a different God. Because what he is teaching, everything else that he's teaching is not biblical. And by the way, the most accurate prophecy I've ever heard was given to me on an LSD trip, okay? So I'm going to tell you right now, an accurate prophecy says nothing about being from God. This is Ted. You guys have a good one.